64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 70. U2, If God Will Send His Angels, Songs of Surrender.
Hello and welcome to I Caught It on Audio. Today we're going to be doing our Is This Song Good series, and we'll be talking about songs from the album Songs of Surrender by U2. This album is a compilation of reworked U2 hits. I think there's 40 tracks total on the album.
Yep.
Yeah.
And basically, if I'm not mistaken, is basically The Edge and Bono working together to make stripped down, mostly acoustic versions of these songs. And as U2 fans, we thought we'd take a little time to talk about a few of the songs. This series will be a 3-part series, and today we're going to be talking about the song If God Will Send His Angels, which originally appeared on the album Pop back in 1997. Spoiler alert, we all picked songs from the 90s, if that is a surprise to anyone. So I picked this one. This is one of my favorite songs off of the album Pop, and which is one of my favorite U2 albums. It's like my secret favorite U2 album. Achtung Baby is obviously the best, but or for me anyway. And then Pop is my secret second favorite. And yeah, this song is, the original version's got a big driving bass line that just kind of runs through the whole song, and then Bono singing on top of it with, other things here and there. But then they completely took the bass line away if in the Songs of Surrender, and replaced it with a really interesting piano piece. So what are you guys' thoughts on this one?
This song was not one of my favorite ones from Pop. I also like Pop as sort of like a low key, alternate favorite that probably, a lot of people don't like for whatever reason, because it wasn't old school U2 or whatever when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was techno, I guess, like with the discotheque lead single or whatever. But this song, I wouldn't say like I hated it or anything, but it was kind of one that I would sort of gloss over while going through the album. And listening to this updated version, it's much more simplistic. It's a very simplistic imagining. I don't think I heard any other instruments in there other than piano and vocals. I was listening really close to hear if there was like a bass kind of embellishing, some of the piano parts, but I
don't think there was.
I think it was just low register, piano notes. And I don't know, it kind of, it definitely doesn't have the same vibe as the album version. I don't know if it's more kind of like a lullaby or it just feels way different. And I mean, there are some cool vocal harmonies, and I think really the strongest thing probably about any of these songs that we're doing from this 40-track album of reimaginings is that the strength is kind of in Bono's vocals. I think in interviews they were talking about how the reason why they wanted to do this was because a lot of the songs that they had recorded, they were very young, and Bono wasn't really as strong on his vocal patterns and ability to sing as he is now in his 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the strength lies. But I just, for me, when I approached this album, I was really excited because like, oh, this could be really cool. Like maybe they're going to try things that they wouldn't try normally on the album because they're just trying to, appeal to a certain audience or whatever. And then it would kind of went the opposite direction. Like it went a little bit more like yawning, like a little too boring for some of these.
Yep.
Dan, what do you think?
Oh, okay. So I agree with you guys that Pop is, I think, underrated. I think coming off the heels of Joshua Tree, Achtung Baby, and Zooropa, it is maybe not quite on that level, but I think people give it a bit of a hard time for trying for sort of relevance and and that sort of like dance music type thing that they were incorporating. I think the album's good. I think that this song is a solid song. Not one of my favorites, but I think it's a good one. I like it. It is a kind of a stripped down song on the album, the original album. It's not flashy or showy. It has an interesting arrangement, like you said, Dave. It's really bass led, a little bit of guitar, and then it has some, I want to say, flutes on top there. And a few things struck me. One is that this new version is it shows how strong of a song it is when you just put all the melodies together in the piano. It's a really nice arrangement.
Yeah.
Like the bass line in the left hand of the piano, and then especially at the very end of the song when the higher flute part is in there. It's a really nice arrangement, and you can just imagine someone playing it, just sitting at a piano and playing it in a really sort of intimate setting, and it would work great. So I thought this was one of the better ones as far as how effective it was. And I don't know, Zach, if you were saying that you think that Bono is singing better than ever on this, or if that's what people were saying.
I think that's what they were going for, was that, that it was the, like his voice is probably the best it's ever going to be by now. And but I don't know that I think he probably was taking more chances and singing more interestingly back in the early days, and this is very safe.
Well, I think the weakness of this whole album, like all 40 songs, the weakness is, other than the fact that they're all sort of piano and acoustic guitar arrangements with a handful of exceptions, is the fact that his voice is not what it once was. I don't think he has the power. Listen, he's 62, and they've sung live so many times over the last 40 years. I don't think he particularly is careful about taking care of his voice. He has smoked and drunk in the past. I don't know how much he does now. His voice just isn't the same, which is normal for a human. If your voice loses that.
It's incredible for any of these guys who were, big in the 80s to still be singing at any, competent level. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, that's a hard instrument, to keep going as you age.
And you have to, exactly. And you have to take care of it. There's a point where it's kind of too late. You can't get it back, when it's a little worn out. So, I mean, it's great that they're sort of rethinking things, and they're still going out there and doing it. They have every right to do that, and I have no issue with that. I'm sure some people sort of will look at this as a, and they're being optimistic if they're saying that, back then when he was young, he didn't know what he was doing. And it's like, well, that's just not how I feel. I feel like he took a lot of chances in those days, but most of the time it paid off. And his sort of new version, and this is the little I've heard of the last 20 years of albums, basically everything after All You Can't Leave Behind. I haven't really invested much time in them, but I would say that the thing that I noticed that is not
coming soon.
Yeah, right. They have a lot of albums, and I've heard some songs, and I've thought, this is okay, but man, the voice just isn't the same, which is okay. It's natural. But I thought that this was a good version this was one of the better ones on this whole album of him pulling it off. But this is a feeling I had many times while listening to all the songs. as we were listening to it and deciding what songs we are going to talk about, was it just kind of makes me want to listen to the original. Because for the most part, I'm like, wow, this is a version of that song. And look, man, that was really good on the album, or even live from the 90s and early 2000s, early 80s, you know? So I would say it's a nice, very different arrangement, very simple. It shows off the strengths of the song. He doesn't push the singing too sometimes on the album, he pushes himself too hard, and I feel like it doesn't work. On this song, I feel like it works just fine. And actually that's also true of, the song you chose, a little preview later, Zach. We'll get to that, but
and that's why I chose this one. It was the one where I feel like I agree with you, Dan. I don't think Bono is up to the level that he was anymore. And maybe the idea was it's only going to get worse, so let's get these recorded. Thing.
And I agree. I agree that I don't see it coming back. I mean, part of it is decision making, what he goes for, and I thought the decision making was good on this song, and we'll talk about the other songs when we get to them. But
at first, I really hated this version of it because the bass is so integral to the pace, and it's 50% of the song, right? It's the bass and then Bono, and then there is a little bit of other stuff, and then you take that bass away, which is the whole driving force of it. And I hated it at first when I listened to it, but then I actually started paying attention to what they were doing with the piano, and it is a really, really good piano piece. And I started getting having an affection for it, and that's ultimately why I chose this one, because it's one of the better singing jobs, and the piano piece is phenomenal. So, unless
it's not quite as interesting as the original, I think.
Nope.
But it has a certain other charm to it. I thought it was one of the better versions on the album. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if you guys have anything else on this one.
Nope.
No, that's all I've got.
What do we got next?
Yes, that's my song. Next we're gonna do "Stay Far Away, So Close" from Zooropa, back in '93, and we'll talk about that next week.
All right.
I caught it on audio.